Jan was the vice president of a prestigious firm, dressed in sharp heels and sharper discipline. Her home was spotless, her schedule airtight. Her smile was rehearsed and perfect, but behind it all was a silence that screamed. Jan's childhood had not been soft. Her mother, Ellen, was not the kind of woman who offered hugs or lullabies. She offered fists. She offered belt buckles and broken dishes. Jan could still feel the sting of being yanked by the hair, the burning humiliation of being slapped for simply spilling juice on the floor. Her mother's anger was volcanic and random, and it erupted often. What made it worse was that Ellen wasn't always cruel. Some days, she'd braid Jan's hair and call her beautiful. But those moments were landmines. They made the abuse harder to understand, and even harder to forgive. Years later, John would learn that her mother had been abused too, by her mother. But that knowledge didn't soothe the scars. It only deepened the confusion. So when Jan turned 18, she left and never looked back. She built her life piece by piece with precision, graduated at the top of her class, landed her dream job, married a kind, quiet man who respected her boundaries. And when she gave birth to her own daughter, Zoe, she promised herself, "I will never be like her." She never called her mother, changed her number, shredded every birthday card that came in the mail, never reading them past the first line. When mutual friends or family tried to intervene, she would cut them off too. "She made her choice," Jan would say, jaw clenched, "so I made mine." What Jan didn't know was that God had started working in Ellen's life. Years after Jan left, Ellen finally hit the bottom she'd spent her life avoiding. Alone, bitter, and aging, she found herself in a church one rainy Sunday. Not because she believed, but because the door was open and her heart was tired. The pastor spoke that morning about broken cycles, about how pain that's not healed gets passed down like a curse. Ellen wept for the first time in decades. She started therapy, she started praying, and most of all, she started reaching out to Jan. Letters, voicemails, even handwritten apologies. But Jan never responded, not once. Years passed. Jan gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Zoe. Zoe turned 5, spunky, curious, with her mother's fierce spirit and her father's soft heart. Jan adored her. She poured herself into being a perfect mom, the one she never had. But one day, it happened. Zoe spilled juice on the floor. Jan, already worn from a long day, snapped. She grabbed her daughter by the arm and raised her hand without thinking. For one awful second, she wasn't Jan. She was Ellen. Zoe's wide, terrified eyes broke something open in Jan's soul. She froze, hand still in the air, as guilt came crashing down like a flood. "No, no, baby, I'm sorry," she whispered, dropping to her knees. I didn't mean to." Zoe cried and Jan cried harder. She held her daughter tight, heart shattered. That night, after putting Zoe to bed, Jan sat on the bathroom floor sobbing. Her chest ached with a grief she didn't understand. She had been attending church for over a year, taking notes, praying, checking the boxes. But that night, she realized something. She had let Jesus into every room of her life except the one labeled Mother. She had kept that door locked and guarded with pride. "Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us." The words echoed through her. She finally saw it. Unforgiveness had grown in her like a weed, choking her from the inside out. And in one unguarded moment, it had reached for her daughter. She cried out to God, hands shaking. "Lord, I thought I was healed. I thought I was whole. But I'm not. Help me. Please help me forgive." It wasn't loud or poetic, but it was real. The next morning, Jan did something she hadn't done in over 20 years. She picked up the phone and called her mother. Ellen answered on the third ring, Her voice cracked just saying Jan's name. Silence stretched long. I hurt my daughter yesterday, Jan said quietly. I didn't hit her, but I almost did. I saw your hand in mine, and I realized I never let God touch that part of my life. More silence. I forgive you, Mom, she whispered. I don't know how to be close yet, but I know I can't keep holding this anymore. I don't want to pass it down. I need God's grace, and I guess you do too. Ellen began to weep on the other end. Decades of regret poured out in sobs. That phone call didn't fix everything in one moment, but it planted the seed of restoration. In the weeks that followed, John joined a support group at her church for women healing from generational trauma. She met other women just like her, strong, successful, faith-filled, and still hurting. She stood before them one night and shared her story, voice shaking but spirit strong. I thought unforgiveness was power, but it was prison. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was punishing myself. It wasn't until I stood in my mother's shoes, about to make the same mistake, that I saw just how badly I needed grace. And Jesus was right there, holding it out. Now Jan writes letters with her mother. They've begun to visit once a month. Zoe knows her grandmother as Nana and sees the love in her that Jan never did. It's not perfect. It's still healing. But it's real. And it's holy. Because when God enters a broken story, He doesn't just fix what's cracked, He makes it new. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell for more stories coming. Remember, we all can be saved. Jesus loves us all. All we have to do is ask for forgiveness.